History of Assurbanipal, translated from the cuneiform inscriptions, by George Smith, published 1871. War in Egypt. Tiharka against the gods, to capture Egypt, made a gathering to fight. The evil which the father my begetter had done to him he forgot not in his heart. The power of Ashur, my lord, he despised, and trusted to his own might. He came, and into Memphis he entered, and that city he restored to himself. Against the men of Assyria, who within Egypt were tributaries dependent on me, whom Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, the father my begetter, to the kingdoms had appointed in the midst of it, to slay, plunder, and spoil, he sent forth his army. I was walking round in the midst of Nineveh, and one came and repeated this to me. Over these things my heart was bitter and much afflicted. I collected the Tartan prefects and the troops in their hands, my powerful forces, for the restoration of the kings and prefects, tributaries dependent on me. An urgent command I gave them. The road to Egypt I caused their feet to take. Earnestly and joyfully they marched down and went to Carbenet. Tiharka, king of Ethiopia, who, of the progress of my army in the midst of Memphis heard, and to make war fighting and battle he gathered his army and set them in array in front of my army. In the service of Ashur, Sin, and the great gods my lords, who march before me, in the battlefield his overthrow they accomplished. His fighting men they destroyed with the sword. Himself, terrible fear struck him, and he went back. From Memphis, his capital city and his fortified place, he went out, and to save his life, in a ship he sailed. His camp he abandoned, and fled alone. And into Thebes he entered, all the ships of war with him. The fighting men took in hand. A messenger of good tidings hastily returned, and told me. The Rabshakeh, prefects and kings, across the river, tributaries dependent on me, all of them, with their forces and their ships. The kings of Egypt, tributaries dependent on me, with their forces and their ships. To my powerful forces I added and sent. To Thebes, the fortified city of Tiharka, king of Ethiopia, they went. A journey of 1 month and 10 days. Tiharka, who of the progress of my army heard, Thebes, his fortified city, abandoned, and the Nile he crossed over. On the opposite side he made a fortress. Necho, Sarludari, and Pakruru, kings whom in Egypt the father my begetter had made. The observances of Ashur and the great gods my lords forsook, and broke their pledges. The benefits of the father my begetter they despised, and their hearts devised evil. Seditious words they spoke, and evil counsel they counseled among themselves. Thus, Tiharka from the midst of Egypt is cut off, and to us our seats are numbered. Unto Tiharka, king of Ethiopia, to make agreement and alliance, they directed their messengers. Thus, may an alliance by this treaty be established, and we will help each other. The country on the other side we will strengthen, and let there not be in this treaty any other lord. Against the army of Assyria, my strength, they devised a wicked plot. To save their lives being captured, they separated until there were none together. My generals of this plot heard and concealed their plans. Their messengers and their instructions they captured, and saw their seditious work. Sarludari and Necho they took, and in the bonds of iron and fetters of iron they bound their hands and feet. The oath of Ashur, king of the gods, took them, who sinned against the gods, who had sought the gods of their hands, and who had given them favors, and the people of all the cities with them devised an evil design. Small and great with sword they destroyed what they did not leave in the midst. And them to Nineveh to my presence they brought. And I, Assurbanipal, bestower of favors, to Necho the tributary, dependent on me whom the father my begetter to the kingdom had appointed in Kar-Belmatati. Favor I granted him, and a covenant I appointed him. The observances of the gods, stronger than before, I caused to be restored, and with him I sent. His heart I caused to rejoice, and costly garments I placed upon him, and ornaments of gold, his royal image I made for him. Rings of gold I fastened on his feet, a scimitar, the sheath of which was gold. The glory of my name I gave him. Chariots, horses, and mules for his kingdom I appointed. My generals as governors to Egypt with him I sent. The place where the father, my begetter, in Sais, the name of which is Kar-Belmatati, to the kingdom had appointed him. To his district I restored him. Benefits and favors beyond those of the father, my begetter, I caused to restore and gave to him. Tiharka, king of Ethiopia, terrible fear of my power overwhelmed him, and he went to his place of night. Rudaman, son of his consort, sat on his throne and governed the country. Thebes he fortified for himself, and gathered his forces to make war and battle. Against my army his soldiers he brought forward, and took the road. The Second Egyptian War. Cylinder A, column 2, line 61 to 83. In my second expedition to Egypt and Ethiopia, I directed the march. Rudaman of the progress of my expedition heard, and that I had crossed over the borders of Egypt. Memphis he abandoned, and to save his life, he fled into Thebes. The kings, prefects, and governors, whom in Egypt I had set up, to my presence came, and kissed my feet. After Rudaman, the road I took, I went to Thebes, the strong city. The approach of my powerful army he saw, and Thebes he abandoned, and fled to Kipkim. That city, Thebes, the whole of it, in the service of Ashur and Ishtar, my hands took. Silver, gold, precious stones, the furniture of his palace, all there was, garments costly and beautiful, great horses, people, male and female, 2 lofty obelisks covered with beautiful carving, 100 talents their weight, set up before the gate of a temple. With them I removed and brought to Assyria. Its spoils unnumbered I carried off. From the midst of Thebes, over Egypt and Ethiopia, my servants I caused to march, and I acquired glory. With the tributes peacefully I returned to Nineveh, the city of my dominion.